Hello, this is Skoggle, and I'm making another video for FOE Training Grounds. Today we're featuring Vayne and Janna going against Kog'Maw Nunu, and I really do love the Kog'Maw Nunu classic setup, but I like some things about this Vayne Janna setup. Before I get into it, I will talk about the summoner spells. Flash, Great Escape spell, and Cleanse to get off any hard CC and get out of bad situations for Vayne, playing safe and trying to get to the late game where she can be just a brutal hyper carry. Janna runs Exhaust, helps to give up the kill potential in your lane or get the kill potential, and a Flash. Whereas Kog'Maw's running Flash Heal kind of better on yourself than on your teammates, so support stop carrying it, and the AD carries have been picking it up. Nunu runs Exhaust Flash. We all know Nunu and Kog combo brings a lot of attack speed, a lot of movement speed, and makes that W on Kog'Maw that does damage based off the percentage of their life really strong. In this gank, part of why they got away so easy, you get tornadoes off Janna that have the knock-up, and the Condemn can just take one person, for instance Lee Sin, and just push him back. It's just a hard to gank lane with two flashes, with Cleanse. Just a very strong defensive setup. Protect the Vayne, protect the hyper carry. Vayne here has a Janna ult to protect him at level 6, and that knockback is awesome. The tornado knockup, a slow. Janna has Exhaust if needed. She has her own tumble and flash abilities and Cleanse to get away from stuff, and has a knockback that if it hits a wall is a stun. So Vayne is very protected and safe. I do like that lane. Just something to note, that ward in the river is pretty cool. I like how Vayne is holding this and freezing it from getting to the tower. That's why Nunu's trying to punish her for it, to push that lane to the tower to make her miss CS. But that ward blocks the ramp down from blue, and that ward over on the top ramp to the jungle that just died, unfortunately, that ward combo makes it so they cannot get into your jungle without being seen. So that would protect the whole jungle. Technically, if you also did that on the top side, you can protect all 4 of your jungle entrances, and they can't go in behind you, and you don't necessarily need the ward in the tri-brush. You could drop one, for instance, by dragon, by that blue entrance, and kind of see both, and you could drop as a support one on your Wraith, helping your mid out, helping your jungler out, so you're not just warding for the bottom lane, but you're warding for your jungler and your mid, while you are protected because they can't come into that tri-brush, and they can't get into the other brush to gank you because you have it warded. So with 2 wards bottom lane, you can really take a big portion of the map control. Now here, I think this is silly. In a game, you want to see how well you're trading, and if you just went back to buy, you're trading differently. You're not trading the same. Nunu engages here, but they haven't ever tried to trade. So who's stronger? Who isn't strong? Who can live through this? Is it a good idea to fully engage? Well, the answer happened to be no, and the problem with someone like Nunu is you don't really have a great escape when you're condemned into a wall. And so you try to take this trade, you get stunned for it, and that's what happens when you go all in without being sure you're stronger. Kog'Maw had taken the double Dorans and has the attack damage and the health advantage. The health doesn't help Nunu. The attack damage technically is a threat to keep him away, but Vayne finished her boots and has a sword and quite a bit of lifesteal in that Vamp Scepter. So Vayne just simply attacks so fast that she's going to do well in exchanges. Get it out to the tower and they go by and pick up the Zeal, and now her attack speed is a lot stronger. Something that happens here, purple team sees Nautilus at top, and they see that Vayne and Janna had gone to buy. Kog'Maw was standing right there. They watched it. Kog'Maw, if you watch the screen closely, runs across the lane straight over to Dragon. So you don't necessarily need to kill bottom lane to take the dragon for free. All they did was see Nautilus top and the bottom lane buying. Not even, they actually picked up the kill, but they went to go cash in, and there went a dragon for the opposite side. Just a really good heads up play by purple team there, and something to think about when you want dragon control. Now Janna's kind of guarding the river because of where the ward had to be placed, because they saw dragon getting done, but that Janna ult, once again, just protects Vayne so very well. They were pushed all the way out, and they couldn't even engage with those knockbacks. Just, Janna is a great support because she can protect her carries. So that was when I was talking about the combination, and again, Vayne stops them from going to the tower. She doesn't want to fight the tower, lose CS to the tower. That's just not a smart play. It's a good attempt by Kog'Maw to get that pushed and try to deny some CS, get an advantage. Vayne does a very good job of freezing when that happens. And that's what is being talked about when people say you freeze the lane. Sometimes you freeze it completely and slow it down. And here you're going to see a trade. This is kind of what I was talking about before, where you want to see how you come ahead in these trades before you fully engage. This time, gets hit by the tornado, leaves. And look at Vayne's life. Over halfway dead. I just think that this would be a better time to engage. Unfortunately, he doesn't understand he's standing on a ward, and the combination of knock up, knock back into a wall stun is just too much. Now, looking at Kog'Maw's damage, it looks like it could work out for Nunu. He's even just stretching, taking a nap, just really doesn't understand he's sleeping on a ward. Just kind of caught, unaware. They're running right for him, and I think he thinks this is going to be great for him. Unfortunately, it just isn't. I love the Yeti stretching right before that. Just makes him look asleep on the job. But here's the chase. So Kog'Maw sees a low Vayne, hits him, even flashes in, but Janna gets a shield. So he goes to land an ult, and Vayne flashes out of it. Just an excellent, excellent escape by Vayne. That was a heads up play, paying attention, a clutch shield from Janna. Very good play there to get out of that 1-0. So again, they have their tri-brush warded, but they're pushing fast. She's not just last hitting. And here she's ahead 2-0, and to me this is kind of silly. I don't understand that it's getting you very far ahead. I'll talk about it in just a second, let you watch it. She gets the kill, but gives up a kill. And even with the Janna assist, she gets shut down, so quite a bit, because it's a 3-kill shutdown for Kog'Maw. And she gets the first kill on Kog'Maw, so he's worth 300. But if she doesn't kill Kog'Maw and just allows Kog'Maw to base, she gets all that CS because it's uncontested, and that's for free. Kog'Maw's base, so the second wave will get there. So I mean, that's 2 waves is worth, with the tank minion, 200, 250 roughly if you get them all. And Kog'Maw would have gotten 0 for 2 waves because you've pushed to the tower, and so you're up 250. Instead, Kog'Maw got 366 and Vayne got 300. So in a way, you kind of lost some gold when it would have been a free win of gold if you just let Kog'Maw go back. If you didn't have to dive for it, would have been well worth it. But to tower dive Kog'Maw explodes after he's dead, and you would have to escape with an exceptionally high amount of life. Here, Vayne's going to take the red buff. A lot of AD carries start getting that. But rushes out in the lane, and they were ganking Janna. This puts the chase on, and her too low life to really kite well around the tower. And she's going to die for helping Janna when she had no chance of saving Janna. And this kind of makes me laugh here. It happens. It's a mistake. It happens. It goes. But Kog'Maw's about to explode, and Janna runs over to get involved in that. and gets herself killed. I just was sort of amused because she'd already backed off, then Cog dies, and she just runs over, just kind of forgetting what your lane does. But to me, Vayne was very far ahead, and now Kog'Maw has 4 kills. Because got the double kill, killed Vayne, and killed Vayne earlier for tower diving. So Kog'Maw's kind of actually ahead, where Vayne's been outplaying him until that last little dive was up 2-0, and would be ahead in creeps if she would have just farmed that instead of dying. And to be up 2-0 and up in creeps is quite a nice thing. Instead, it's kind of led Kog'Maw right back into this. And 1 level down, decides to fully engage Kog'Maw, just really confident with herself. Which, I mean, you see the damage she should be, but the problem is, once again, what does Kog'Maw's passive do? And Kog'Maw actually gets more gold in this exchange than Vayne does. So that is why I don't think trading deaths once you get ahead to keep getting more kills actually helps you. Anyhow, that was laning phase of Vayne and a Kog'Maw, 2 very good hyper carries against each other. And that will be the end of this video. Thanks for watching.
Alright, gonna do the review to this game. First off, number 1 is check summoner spells. And you want to know what your ally is running. So in the bottom lane, you know what you have, so make sure you pay attention to what the support has. Because if the support doesn't have exhaust and you think they do, and you go for a fight, it could turn really bad for you. Or they can't stop them from jumping on you and engaging. There's just so many things you just need to be aware of what they have. But then you need to check what your opponents have. What does their support have? Does their support run clairvoyance? Does it run exhaust? Does he not run flash? There's just different things you can do. And you can learn. You can look at what they have. Do they have ignite or do they have cleanse? Because that's a big deal. It can clear off your ignite with a cleanse or get out of CC. Or 2, they can't ignite you, so you can play a little bit safe or more aggressive without having that ignite burn you down. They can't jump on you quite as hard when they don't have ignite, so that's why you want to check that really quick. I know there's a lot of things to check, but the more you know about not just what champion he's playing, but what runes and masteries he's likely running, and then what summoner spells. If he's running exhaust ignite, he's not looking to escape, he's looking to kill. So can you punish him for that? That's what you need to know. 2. Lane synergy. Lane synergy is, in my opinion, the best, most intriguing part of bottom lane. Top lane, it's simple. It's 1 versus 1. Mid lane, simple. 1 versus 1. The difference is getting ganked, and then it doesn't really matter who's the one. It doesn't matter if you get counterpicked when your jungler's there. It does matter if you're counterpicked if your jungler doesn't go top, but that being said, you need to be aware of the lane synergy combos in bottom. For instance, Kog'Maw, Nunu. They are not strong early, but they're very strong late. They have the speed buff to Kog'Maw with his W that can just do insane amounts of damage in a very short time. They have the slow to your attack speed in what Nunu brings. Nunu can land his ultimate if you don't have a way to stop it. In the case of Janna and Vayne, you both do. And what you have on the contrary side is Janna Vayne. And Janna Vayne is very intriguing because Vayne's a hyper carry just like Kog'Maw is, and Nunu helps extend that hyper carry advantage late in the game. But Nunu doesn't necessarily help a ton in the laning phase and doesn't make it any easier on Kog'Maw to get to the late game. Now, Vayne Janna does. Janna makes sure that Vayne shouldn't die in most scenarios. Janna has her ult, she has her tornado, she has the passive speed buff. Vayne's already fast with all her tumbling and all the stuff she does. And Janna adds the slow. Janna adds so much keep your carry alive ability and the shield. And Vayne has the tumble and the knockback condemn. So you have so much crowd control, and it's hard crowd control. I mean, other than spell shield and stuff, there's not a lot they can do to get out of it. So you have a lot that you can do to stay alive and make sure you get to late game with a decent amount of leveling presence or laning presence, because you have all that CC. So when you're going for those last hits, when you're going for that kill, you have an ability to get away. and that is important. There's also the kill lane synergy where you have a Blitzcrank or a Leona or a Taric with someone with burst like Corki or Graves. And so that's kind of what we're looking at here, is when is the lane synergy good and what are you trying to do with that lane synergy. Both these teams were trying to get to late game. One of them had a more, we can be a little aggressive and protect ourselves, where the other one kind of needed to sit back and just farm and hope it didn't get too aggressive. And so that's what lane synergy is. Hopefully I'll be able to do a whole series on it later instead of worrying about it now. I'll talk about it on a future video. 3. Stop the freeze. If they ever stop the minions short of their tower and they are not stronger than you, or they're lower life, or whatever reason, you can punish them for this. They're already taking the creep damage. Go ahead and walk over and smack them for it. Hit them. Use a burst. They're not going to be able to dodge it that well. They're trying to not run backwards, so you know which direction they're likely to go. The other thing they'll do is they'll have to retreat that often and will get to the tower, and that's what they were trying to stop in the first place. And so make sure that that lane reaches the tower. Don't just push it and assume he's going to let it. If he stops there, do what Nunu did. Run up, throw an ice ball at him. He's going to have to walk away. He can't fight you and a creep wave. He needs his creeps to be tanking the creep wave to be able to trade. And so just don't let them get away with that for free. 4. Trade before engage. This is huge. The first time you see an opponent, unless you have a surprise, like you were waiting in a brush and they're face checking it, then it is not a good idea to just full on engage. The other difference is ganking and stuff. I mean, when you have the numbers advantage. But when you're even in a lane, you don't want to just go all in for the kill. You're playing extremely risky, and you could throw the game for your team, and it's just not a great idea. So what you want to do is, you want to poke them down, and if you trade and see how much damage you do to them and how much damage they do to you, you know when you can engage. By doing a couple trades, you kind of get a feel for it. Now, when you just run out there and get yourself fully in there, and your plan you didn't have an escape plan, your plan was to go in there, or you didn't have an escape plan and your plan wasn't going there, also not good. But you need that idea of how you're going to do damage and get out without taking a lot of damage. Don't just engage. Hard engages before you're sure you're going to win them is a very, very poor decision. Just don't do it. You might win some, but you can lose quite a few, and you didn't have any clear indication of why you would win that fight. You want to fight when you have a reason to believe you'll win the fight, not just because you want to kill them. 5. Dragon timing. Dragon timing means that you have a view on their jungler, because even if you go in there, if he can just flash over that wall or use an ability over the wall and smite steal the dragon, you didn't do yourself any good. So if you see a lot of junglers love to punish top because it's a 1v1 lane that's extended. Mid's really close to the towers, top is not. So what you do is they kind of camp top to make sure their top wins and make sure they get some kills and assists. So, if Dragon's up, Jungler goes top, and you can kill or force the base, or even if you just see him basing to buy, mid or bottom lane, you can take Dragon, as long as that Jungler's top. And so, I'm not just talking about a timer here, it's a little bit different, but the Dragon control timing is, hey, we just killed the mid, we have an advantage. Their Jungler's top, we have an advantage. They have the AD carry is dead or basing. If he pushed to the tower and based, and you know this, then go ahead and do that. And go ahead and do Dragon. It's not a big deal right then. It's a good time to do it. Moving on to number 6, freezing lane. And I do talk about this in some of my other videos, but it's huge. It's a big deal. Any chance you have to do what Vayne tried to do against Nunu and then successfully does later, to tank the minion wave and not let it get to the tower, is going to help you so much in your ability to get farm and get far into this game. What you do is you try to never let the wave hit your tower. And once your creep wave gets bigger and you're killing them really fast, it's almost a good idea to just kill them as fast as you can and push to their tower. But whenever it's more or less in the middle and you're not taking them down fast, let the creeps do the work and just slowly push the lane, and you can choose the positioning of your lane. But the biggest part of choosing the positioning of your lane is to not let... This is the number one factor, and a lot of people know how to just last hit and not hit in between. They get that. They've got that concept down. Now, the tanking, the support, or you yourself tanking the minion so it doesn't reach the tower, because the tower will reset the lane. You do not want them getting to the tower. It will change the lane positioning. And so if you want to control the lane, the biggest part of freezing it is to not let it hit the tower. 7. Brush wards. Brush wards do a couple things. It stops the lane ganks when the jungler comes through the lane into the brush and then tries to get you from that brush to surprise you. And it also can do things like set up kills on them. So if they're using the brush to, like, Blitzcrank loves standing in the brush and trying to grab someone with his hook. Well, it's not as scary if there's no brush. If you know exactly where Blitzcrank is, you know exactly where he can be launching his attack from. If you don't, he could potentially be anywhere in that brush, giving him a giant range of zone control where he controls the area. So if you have your wards in there, you see him. And what happens is it's Nunu, not Blitzcrank in this game, but he thinks he's going to be in position to surprise them either with his ultimate or with the snowball, his ice blast. And what happens is they see him and are able to condemn him into a wall, pop him up with the tornado, put the slow on him, and there's nothing he can do but just die really quick. He just gets blown up. And so that's what I'm talking about, and why brush wards are so important if they're trying to win that control, because the whole game is about this presence control, zone control, like area control. If you have that brush controlled, that's just like open terrain. There's no more brush advantage. They can't use it to juke you. They can't use it to dodge single target your auto attacks or your single target spells, and they can't be in a different spot than you think, making you miss your other spells. And then you can do things like they think they're stealth and they're not, and you can jump on them and they're just unexpected. You catch them flat-footed in essence. So that is what brush wards can do for you. 8. Trading deaths. When is it a good idea? When is it a bad idea? Well, if you're on a killing streak and they're not, you are worth more gold than them. So they will get more gold for killing you than you will for killing them. When you want to trade a death is when you're the one being ambushed. In the case of Kog'Maw, you were trying to go back, you didn't have a lot of mana, and she's winning the fight. But because you got behind your tower, you made her take a lot of damage, and you traded the death. So it's not just the gold, it's also when you're the one being ambushed. When you're on a 2v1, and they're going to kill you, and you're not going to be able to escape, then getting a kill out of it makes it better. Just dying for nothing is not going to help, but when you can get a kill back, that's when you want to trade deaths. You don't want to trade deaths like Vayne did. Vayne jumps in there, gives up more gold to Kog'Maw than she gets in return, and had no real chance of escaping that. Didn't even get killed by Kog'Maw's passive. And then she goes, while she's worth more gold, and does it again in the middle of the lane. I think she thought she was going to live there, but that's a lack of champion knowledge. What does Kog'Maw do after he dies? So if Kog'Maw just gets you low enough, he'll get a kill too. It's kind of an advantage for Kog'Maw, because if you're playing defensive on Kog'Maw, and they do something dumb, you might get a kill without dying, but if they kill you, you'll probably kill them back. As you see it later in this game, is they go in there for this fight, and he gets like a double kill after he dies, runs over and blows up on 2 people. And so you gotta have that champion knowledge, and you have to understand when it's a good idea and a bad idea to trade deaths. If you can't get out of a scenario, and you're too deep in their jungle, and you don't have a good escape, then getting a kill before you die is good. But if you're just ambushing them and diving them, and you could have easily walked away, and they're not, if they're on a huge killing streak like 6-0, it might be worth it. If they have an Oracle's drink, it might be worth it. But just to kill them is not a good idea. 9. Helping doomed teammates. This is going to not necessarily be an always thing. This is a very big judgment call. But what I mean by this is Vayne runs into that lane while Janna was getting ganked. So there was 3 people in the lane, and what is Vayne going to run into 3 people and be able to do? Nothing. Retreat to her tower. Instead, she takes some damage going in there to support her Janna or whatever she's doing, and she's way too squishy to be the one doing this, and it puts on this dive that gets her killed, then she loses the red buff she just obtained, and it gets Janna killed, it gets Nasus killed, and it gets 3 teammates killed. And people do this all the time. This wasn't necessarily the best example of what my point is here. But people think that, oh, you're my teammate, you have to come help me when I'm in trouble. But if you're looking at a scenario and your presence isn't going to change the outcome of the scenario, if you can run in there and kill 2 people so that then it's a 2-to-1 exchange, or even if you died, a 2-to-2 exchange, that could be okay because a 1-0 is not very good. But if you can't necessarily kill anyone for sure, and you can't get out of there if you go in, then don't go in. You do not have to help a teammate out of position. A teammate out of position, it's their fault. If you go down 2, they're going to get more objectives. Free dragons, they'll steal your buffs, they'll take towers. The more of your team alive after someone gets caught, the better. And there's no reason, you are not required by any means to run into a bad situation just because a teammate got caught. If it's 3 or 4 on 1, you can't do anything about that. If it's 2 on 1 and you can get there before he's too low, you can. If not, and they kill him as you get there, it just becomes 2 on 1 again, and they get to reach. It's like, oh look, a double gank instead of a single gank. So that's what I mean. Try not to do it. It doesn't help. Anyhow, thanks for listening, and we will catch you later.